Hello, and thanks for joining me. Looks like we have another airplane crash. This one is in Toronto, Canada. It looks like a CRJ-900 crashed on the runway on landing. And I have a video. It's from MSNBC. They did a good job on reporting this. And stick around after the video, and I'm going to go over some commentary and points about the crash. Thank you for watching, and here's the video.
We begin with the breaking news out of Toronto, where a Delta Airlines flight arriving from Minneapolis has crashed on landing. That's according to the FAA. You're looking at live images from Toronto's Pearson Airport. The jet appears to have flipped upside down. It is a developing situation, and a lot is unknown at this hour, but here's what we do know. The incident happened around 2:45 p.m. Eastern. 80 people were on board the aircraft. Pearson Airport has said in a post on X that all passengers and all crew have been accounted for, and emergency crews are responding. A local official tells MSNBC that 9 people have been injured. One is in critical condition and has been airlifted to a nearby trauma center. A child was also injured and taken by ambulance to a local hospital. This video shows passengers evacuating from the jet. The flight is operated by a regional subsidiary of Delta Airlines called Endeavour Airlines. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada is currently in charge of this investigation. Let's bring in my colleague, MSNBC host Ali Velshi, who also happens to be a pilot. He's been tracking this story for us. Also joining us, NTSB investigator, MSNBC aviation analyst Jeff Gazzetti will join us momentarily. Ali Velshi, I've been listening to you on the air with our friend and colleague, Katie Tur. Just reset for us what you believe to be the circumstances around this now flipped over upside down jet.
So it's a Delta feeder jet. It's not a mainline jet, but Minneapolis, as you know, is one of the major centers for Delta. Toronto is the major hub in Canada. It was on its way in. It was completely full. It's got 76 seats on that plane, two people in the cockpit, a pilot and a co-pilot, and 2 crew. So that was a full complement, which is typical of planes coming into Toronto. The issue is the weather in Toronto has been very bad. It's had 2 back-to-back storms, 3+ feet of snow on the ground. I mean, I've had family sending me pictures for the last several days of just snow, which Canadians don't do because they're used to snow. Plane came in, the landing speed's about 150 miles an hour, so think about that. Plane seems to get to the ground at 150 miles an hour. Now, if it flips over at 150 miles an hour, it probably wouldn't look the way it looks right now. It would probably be destroyed. So something happened. The pilots figured out something. The plane then seems to have flipped over. Now, what we don't see is landing gear, so we don't know whether the landing gear failed, the landing gear broke, the landing gear wasn't open, or could it be that the winds are very high? The plane could have caught some wind as it was landing. The snow, the banks along the runways have been cleared, but the banks along the runways have a lot of snow. So that sometimes happens. You hit some snow and then you go over, or snow blows onto the runway and becomes ice. The plane gets to the ground. Most people get off. There are 9 injured. Some of those injuries are supposedly to do with the weather, because it's minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit in Toronto. But the 2 who have been sent to hospital, one is a child by land ambulance. There are very, very good children's hospitals in Toronto. It's a children's hospital center, really, for Canada. The other one was medevac to a trauma center. Again, that's because Toronto is a very heavily trafficked city. It's got excellent trauma hospitals, but it would be more standard to put somebody on a helicopter and in 5 minutes be at a trauma center. So that's what we're looking at right now. We are told that the critical injury is not life-threatening, which is great news if true. But amazing to look at these pictures, to see an upside-down plane on a runway, a jet, and understand that maybe 9 people are injured, and we're hoping it's not more than that. A lot of questions. The airport's closed right now. There were winds gusting up to 27 miles per hour, which would be entirely manageable for a CRJ-900 like that. That would not be winds that would necessarily cause it to flip. And the kinds of planes I flew, if you had 27 mile per hour gusts, I wouldn't fly. But that's not in and of itself the danger. Whether the wind caught it and the wing caught some snow, or there was ice on the runway, it might be in concert with other things that the wind was a factor. But the weather is definitely a factor there. There's a lot of snow, to the extent that even the city of Toronto has said it might take weeks to get that city cleared of the snow that it's got right now. So the weather is probably the most likely factor at the moment.
Ali, do we know if there were cancellations in and out of the airport at the time of this incident?
I don't know yet, and I know this plane was coming in a little bit late, and it showed as delayed. Typically, when there is the kind of weather you've got in Toronto like this, you see departure delays because they're de-icing all the planes. When it's that cold, they have to de-ice the plane. So you'll see an airport. It's like an airfield. It's like a much bigger than a football field, just full of planes waiting to take off. So you often have departure delays. We did not know of any incoming delays. I've seen some questions raised on social media about should the airport have even been open. It's important to remember this is Canada's biggest airport. It's a major hub, not just for Canada, but for international flights and for American flights. So pressure on airports to stay open it tends to be high. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, airports tend not to close. Even after DCA, after that plane crash at Reagan National, remember one of the first things they announced is they'll be open at 11 o'clock the next morning. So the airport is now closed, by the way. It's fully closed because they need to investigate, and they need to make sure that if it was weather or wind, or they surmise that it might be, these investigations take a long time. They want to make sure this doesn't happen twice. So I don't know that there were delays coming in. I know there were delays getting out.
Jeff Gazzetti joins us as well. Jeff, just pick up where Ali has left off about what questions you have as an investigator.
Well, it really is striking to me that we have yet another major airline event. And this one appears to be very serious because it's lying upside down without its wings. So you know something very traumatic must have happened. And it is really a miracle that there were no fatalities. Fingers crossed on the critically injured person. We hope these serious injuries will clear up in time. But right now, Nicole, it's really we just have too many questions and not enough answers. We have an airplane that experienced some sort of trauma during landing, and to the point where its entire wing box ripped off and the fuselage continued and came to rest upside down. There doesn't appear to be a whole lot of thermal damage or fire damage, which is a miracle because those wings hold fuel, and fortunately they didn't blow, it seems. So it's a miracle with regard to the survivability design of the aircraft too. The 16G seats that are designed not to move in a crash like this, the seat belts. So it's but it's still very troubling. The wind was very high, as Captain Cox indicated, and that may have played a role in this, but it could have been a compounding factor with something else, perhaps an engine issue or a flight control issue. We just don't know right now.
Jeff, we're hearing that there are now 15 people with injuries, but to your point, quite miraculous to look at this image and report that the injuries aren't more plentiful when there were 80 people on board. I just want to ask you, in terms of what you can see, what we can all see, this image on our screen, if you've ever seen this before.
Yes, I've seen numerous accidents, some involving smaller business jets, others involving larger transport category airplanes. For example, you had the Asiana 777 landing at San Francisco about, it must have been 10, 12 years ago, where that airplane coming into San Francisco hit the seawall and began to tumble and ended up upside down. But its wings were attached. Here we don't see that. I recently investigated an accident involving a Bombardier type of airplane where it left the runway for suspicious reasons, perhaps a crosswind, perhaps a nose landing gear steering problem upon touchdown. That could cause an airplane to come off the runway, strike something, and flip over. But it really, until we see video, and I'm sure there is video of this airplane making its approach, we really don't know the sequence of events here yet.
Ali Velshi, just jump in on how striking it is to be covering another potentially even more catastrophic airline incident.
I mean, this one certainly looks catastrophic. That's the amazing part of it, to look at this, what the pictures that we're looking at, and not know that anyone has perished in this. Again, I want to remind everybody, this is the Bombardier. The CRJ-900 is made by Bombardier. Bombardier is now made by Mitsubishi, but it used to be a Canadian company. This plane was made in Canada. They're generally speaking very safe planes unto themselves, and they are, passenger planes are meant to think about crashes. However, the plane went over. One of the first images you saw was fire trucks moving in because the fuel is in the wings. And when you crash a plane, if you're in a plane, one of the first things you think about is if that plane were to crash, how do you not make it also be a fire? Because if anybody survives it, the thing that can really get you is the fire. So you see that's being sprayed with foam. It was being sprayed with foam as passengers were getting off. Toronto has had a major crash many years ago. It was an Air France flight. Everybody got off of that as well, by the way. That was remarkable. The crew did an amazing job. The flight attendants got everybody off in a calm and safe fashion. So Toronto has a great deal of experience with running a safe air.
Okay, so there you have it. Apparently, just to recap, there was one child on board that was injured. It was taken away by ambulance. Allegedly, there was another person injured, and they were medevaced out. Apparently, there was 15 people injured and 80 people on board the aircraft. It appears to me that the ice runway might have been icy. I can't really tell where the aircraft is located because it doesn't look like it's on the runway. And I've really never seen any kind of crash like this before that really didn't totally destroy the plane. That's really, really amazing, and it's really good for all the people that are on it. Most of the people walked away, which is really incredible. All right, so anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, and I don't know, have a good night, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.